Welcome to Talking Black and Blue, where the rivalries run deep and every Sunday is a battle. I'm your man, Will McCann, and along with my partner, Tellis Everett, we're a couple of fans from the heart of the Midwest, bringing you weekly breakdown and real talk from the heart of the Midwest, the NFC North, the Black and Blue division. So whether you rep green and gold, Honolulu blue, purple and gold, or the monsters of the Midway, you are in the right place. So lace up, strap in, and let's talk black and blue. Tell us, my man, what is up?
Oh my God, this show's gonna be off the hook. What's up, friend?
Go ahead, man. Go ahead.
What's up, friends and kinfolk? We appreciate you supporting the Black and Blue podcast. When we're not, Will and I are real estate agents, and when we are not, we're helping people buy, sell, and invest in real estate. So if you know anyone that's interested in buying, selling in the next 3 days, 3 weeks, or 3 months, hit us up for a winning game plan in real estate. Like I started to say, this show is about to be off the hook. What's going on, Will McCann?
It is, man. I'm already thrown off. And instead of going back and re-editing it, man, I'm letting it fly, my dude. Because
Yes.
check it out. I'm thrown off because I am so disappointed in what we have to deal with to put together a team for the Chicago Bears. But man, Tellis and I were just kind of chopping it up for a bit, man. I thought the Detroit Lions had a dearth of talent. Bro, the Bears, this organization has lacked consistent talent, collective talent for so long, man. The 85 Bears are an iconic team. And outside of that, man, the cupboard is bare. Tell me your thoughts on what you thought about the Chicago Bears as you were trying to prepare for this show.
Man, I texted you and we ended up chopping it up yesterday. And like you're saying, it's amazing to me that the Bears have the legacy that they have with so few Hall of Famers, Ring of Honor. Uh, it's an issue when you go to look at receivers and your running back is one of the
Plural,
top receivers.
plural, plural.
Plural, right?
That's what was, yeah, we're going to get into that, man. I'm sorry, Bears, I'm clowning you guys, man.
Right, right.
I'm not holding back. Lamont, my man, Zachary McCann, you're going to be proud of me today, bro. I'm getting on these Bears.
And it's not like we don't love the city of Chicago.
Man,
There's so
Chicago is
much,
one of my
there's so
favorite
much to
cities.
do. I love Chicago House. I love Chicago Blues. I love the deep dish pizza that you guys have. It ravels Detroit's deep dish. Look, you got the sky deck, you got the river,
Yes,
all,
yes,
all of that stuff. The
yes.
museums, right? I'm an art history major, so your museum is one of the top in the world. Look, we love Chicago, but
Yes.
this situation with your football team, which is probably going to be in Indianapolis, it's going to be hard. We're going to do it, but it's going to be hard for us to make the Chicago Bears all team list.
Man, it was difficult. It was difficult. Like you said, man, I love Chicago. Chicago is a tourist city. I encourage anybody to have a good time, man. Go visit Chicago. But bro, your Bears, and like you said, man, to have the rich history that they have, it's like, where did it come from? All of it is pre-World War II, right?
Yeah, right. Oh yeah. And I do the
Right.
montage of the pictures of the all teams in the past few teams that we've done. This is going to be mostly black and white when I do
Yeah,
that.
we're not gonna have a whole lot of color pictures in the montage for this thing.
Right, right. Yeah.
But hey, let's get into it, man. Let's take a look at the history of the Chicago Bears. There we go. You can see that, right?
Yes, sir.
All right. So the Chicago Bears originally started in Decatur, Illinois, as the Decatur Staleys. And in 1925, they moved from Decatur to Chicago and became the Chicago Staleys from one year before they changed their name to the name that we all recognize, the Chicago Bears. So the organization has been in existence for 107 years. I thought my math was off because last week, if you remember, the Green Bay Packers' first year was 1921. And I'm like, wait a minute, how are they in existence for 105 years and the Bears for 107? But there was one year that the Packers didn't play. I don't know whether it was due to World War II or what became of them, but I know that they took one year off. The Bears have won 809 career games. Remember last week, the Packers lead the division with 819. So those two organizations have been around this, for about the same number of times and both have approximate same number of wins. The Bears are 18 and 12. I'm sorry, 18 and 21 in the playoffs. And I made a mistake with my math last week. I wonder if anybody caught that. I said that the Packers had been to the playoffs 28 times. And the week before that, we saw that the Minnesota Vikings had been 31 times and the Lions 9 times since the beginning of the Super Bowl. One thing that I missed was there were 10 championships that the Packers had that would not have counted in a playoff loss. It was easy to calculate how many times the Vikings and the Lions have been to the playoffs because they've never won a championship. But I noticed I missed that when I was looking at the Bears. So the Bears have actually made the playoffs 31 times. They've won one Super Bowl. They've played in the Super Bowl another time. And they won 9 NFL championships. The winningest coach, like the Packers with Curly Lambeau, was the original owner of the Bears, the great Papa Bear, George Halas, with 324 wins. The all-time leading passer for the Bears is Jay Cutler with 23,000 yards. It was sad looking at those quarterbacks. The all-time leading rusher is one of the greatest football players in the history of the NFL, definitely the greatest Bear of all times, Mr. Walter Payton, with over 16,000 yards and 110 touchdowns. Johnny Morris is the the leading receiver all time. A guy who I never saw play, and that number is actually wrong. It's not 356. I think it's 3560 is what that number should be. And then Robbie Gould is the all-time leading scorer for the team, the all-time leader in points with over 1,200. My biggest memory of Robbie Gould is missing a couple of game-winning field goals in playoffs, and I'm not taking that back on them, man. We're getting on the Bears today. So their greatest kicker at all time actually missed a couple of field goals that prevented them from advancing in the playoffs. So that is the history of the Chicago Bears. Your thoughts on the Bears and your thoughts on your memories of the history of the Chicago Bears.
Right, right. I'm gonna help you out on Johnny Morris. The 356 is total receptions.
Ah, that's receptions, not yards.
Yep.
Uh-oh.
And then he has 5,059 yards receptions.
Thank you.
Yep, yep, yep. So Chicago Bears, my history, of course, is the 1985 championship winning Super Bowl Shuffle Bears, right? So, I mean, the Super Bowl Shuffle, just so if you're not familiar with this, if you're younger, back in 1985, probably, I don't know, 9 or 10 weeks before the Super Bowl, the Bears got in the studio and recorded a song and a video called the Super Bowl Shuffle, which actually reached 41 on the Billboard Hot 100 and had a Grammy nomination.
That song was hilarious, bro.
So again, this is an 85, probably the peak of MTV and videos.
It was just at
So,
the explosion of MTV. Yes,
right.
yes,
So it wasn't just a regional thing.
right.
It was able to reach the whole country. We talked about Detroit Lions with another one bites the dust. That was more regional. But this Super Bowl shuffle was worldwide, right?
Was definitely a national thing. Yeah,
Exactly.
that
Exactly.
was the Super Bowl shuffle was definitely a cultural phenomenon at the time. Because you're right, it was all over MTV all the time, and it
Oh,
was a catchy little tune too.
right.
It was straight bubble gum, but it was a catchy little tune.
But that team was 15-1. So probably one of the greatest, arguably one of the greatest single season performances from a team, right? At 15-1. Um, that defense only allowed like 12 points per game. They were super dominant. Back-to-back shutdowns happened multiple times throughout the season for them. Buddy Ryan's 46 defense became a major building block for them during that season. And then you just talk about some of the iconic members of that team, including Walter Payton, Jim McMahon and the Shades, and Mike Singletary, Richard Dent,
Yes,
William the Refrigerator Perry,
yes,
and of course Mike Ditka as the coach. So a Chicago Bear legend
yes,
coaching, right?
yes.
So there's no other team that I could think of in the history of Chicago Bears that would rival that as far as like a memory for me. I don't know if you have something else that you wanted to share.
No, that 2006 team that made it to the Super Bowl with Brian Urlacher and Lance Briggs, definitely a team probably most younger fans remember, and that was a good football team. But man, the '85 Bears were a dominant football team. I think they only gave up 10 points in the playoffs. And I think all 10 of those were scored by
New England.
no, it was 13 points. And New England got 10 of those in the Super Bowl. And they had a shutout and a 3-point game. They were dominant. And you're right, that defense, six of their front seven were all pro, and the other guy was Refrigerator Perry, who plugged up everything. That linebacking core probably is the best linebacking group ever, man. Rivaled the 78 Steelers and the '86 Giants, man.
Right.
That defense was just ridiculous. You're right. The '85 Bears is probably my favorite team of all time, just with how dominant they were. And then, like you said, the personalities on that team, it took a bunch of personalities to put together that Super Bowl shuffle video.
Right.
You couldn't have just done that with a bunch of dudes, right? You couldn't have just got a bunch of guys together. They all had to have a bit of personality because there are some guys on the team who didn't participate because that just wasn't their thing. And they did it during the middle of the season. That's how bold that team was. They're talking about the Super Bowl shuffle in the middle of the season, and some of the vets on the team were like, dude, we haven't clinched a playoff spot yet. What are we doing here? So
Right.
they didn't participate in it, right? And their personalities wouldn't have fit. And if you had a bunch of dudes on the team like that, you never could have put together that video. So to me, that made it iconic also.
Right. Right. Right.
All right, so let's talk about the all-time team for the Chicago Bears. And we're going to do something a little different this week. We're going to try to build this team as we are discussing the team. So I'll start to get together the video here live or the graphic here live. So let's start with wide receivers. Tell me, who do you have as your all-time wide receivers for the Chicago Bears?
Well, of course, we got to go with Johnny Morris. We kind of went over his stats, right? Best of the bunch. But then when you get to number two, it's a debate,
Yeah.
right? It's a debate because Walter Sweetness Payton is second in yards recorded as for receivers.
Yeah.
You're running your Hall of Fame running back, your Man of the Year award name is
Right. A guy so impactful to the league named the Man of the Year award after him.
after him. He is the number two receiver in the history of the Chicago Bears. Now, of course, we're going to put him on the list as a running back.
No.
But man, come on. Come on, Bears. What are we doing?
Woo.
So I'm gonna throw out two names. You might have a couple others.
Okay.
And I'll do an honorable mention, but Alshon Jeffrey, Harlan Hill, and honorable mention is going to be Brandon Marshall. Let me know where you want to go with this.
I also had on my list at honorable mentions Alshon Jeffrey and Brandon Marshall. I
Hmm.
thought about Harlan Hill. I was doing some research on him. I didn't have enough time to finish. I think the only reason I would even consider Harlan Hill is because I believe he coached at Michigan State for a while. Only reason I would have considered him. I didn't even put Johnny Morris on my list, man. I looked at his numbers and I went, you know what, man? I went with Willie Galt, who played on the 85 Bears.
Okay.
And my second receiver is Matt Forte.
Really? Really?
And Matt Forte never played receiver for the Bears.
Oh my goodness.
I looked at that list, and maybe that's a bit disrespectful to Brandon Marshall and Alshon Jeffrey and even Johnny Moore. First, I'm going to say about Johnny Morris, man. He played during the '60s, right?
Right.
Um, he played when the Bears were no good. I think they did have Gale Sayers. I was going to say he had to be the only receiver on the team, so they had to throw the ball to him, right? That team wasn't winning anything, man. So I see a lot of empty calories with his number. Even though Willie Galt doesn't have anywhere near the number of receptions, it was Willie Galt in the big play. Willie Galt for his career averaged over 19 yards of reception. Willie was always the big play, the deep threat. He was the guy who stretched the field for them. And he was always impactful. And I just went with Matt Forte, man, because he was always amongst the league leaders in receptions, even though he was a running back.
Hmm.
Uh, he always led the league in receptions for a running back. And his name's in a rap song, right? I mean, who is it? Tiger spit him in the right in a rap song. Matt Forte got the best running back.
Oh man. Oh
So
man.
for that reason, I went with Willie Galt and Matt
Okay.
Forte, but I'm willing to admit putting Matt Forte in as a receiver would be disrespectful to Alshon Jeffrey and Johnny Morris. So I'm
Yeah,
willing to go
definitely.
Johnny Morris with you because he is the all-time leader in receptions on the team. But I would go with, even though Alshon has a few more receptions than
Hmm.
Willie Galt, I would go with Willie Galt because I think he had more impact on winning. So
Okay.
can we agree on Johnny Morris? Johnny
Yep.
Morris
We do. We do.
and Willie Galt?
Okay. Whew. Getting to the end there.
Yeah,
You got
had
two
to
running
dig
backs.
deep. Had to dig deep with
Two running backs on the all-time receiver list.
yes, yes, yes.
Uh,
And tight end, who do you have at tight end?
so of course, it's got to be Mike Ditka, right?
I started typing it before you even said it, right? Is there any other tight end on their list?
There are no other tight ends. I mean, the problem is that Mike Ditka revolutionized the position.
Yes, he did. Yeah, yeah, I was gonna say that
Before
about it. Yeah,
before before he came along, was in the league, it was basically a blocking position,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
So He recorded 427 receptions for over 5,800 yards, 43 touchdowns. There's nobody else.
No,
Even
no,
even if even if there were other uh, Cole Kmet who's still playing,
yeah.
I mean, Greg
Colston
Olson.
Loveland, who might get there one day. But yeah, like you said, because the guy revolutionized the position, man. Mike
Mhm.
Ditka is to this day the prototypical tight end. He's as big and as physical as a tackle, like Gronkowski, right? Big.
Right.
If you, for the people who saw Rob Gronkowski, Mike Ditka was a smaller version of Rob Gronkowski. He's about 6'3", 250, and played the game like Gronk. Physical at the line of scrimmage, could set the edge in the run game, and got down the seam and caught the football and scored touchdowns. Yeah, Mike Ditka was a beast. So you're right. Had they had any other tight ends who were impactful, it would be difficult. Like we talked about the Packers last week, they had several tight ends who were pretty good, but they didn't have anybody at the level of a Mike Ditka. Yeah, we'd have been talking about them as all of them as honorable mentions.
Right. Right.
Ditka was that good. Moving on, let's talk about the offensive tackles. Let's talk about the guys at the line of scrimmage. Who do you have as your tackle?
So wait a minute. Did you just chuckle?
You heard it. I couldn't even get it out without chuckling.
I'm, I'm gonna let you complete your chuckle. Go ahead and let me know who you have on the list.
Man, it was hard. Man, it was hard, dude. We talk all the time about the guys closest to the football. When I started looking for their offensive linemen in total, I understand why there's been a dearth of winning seasons. Man, you guys don't have enough football players, right? Core football players. Man, I dug deep. And then I just had to start giving people the benefit of the doubt. My list is a list full of guys who I just have to give you the benefit of the doubt. The one guy who I would say, I remember him as a first round draft pick out of the University of Pittsburgh, Jimbo Covert, who
Mhm.
anchored that right tackle position with Walter Payton running them sweeps to the right. It was Covert crushing the edge that kept that run game going. And the other guy, man, I went with Kyle Long. Kyle Long, just he's from that from a football family. His brother was a All Pro, a Pro Bowl defensive tackle. At the same time, he was a Pro Bowl tackle in this league, and their dad is Hall of Famer Howie Long. Yeah, I went with Kyle Long as
Okay.
my other tackle.
Yeah. So I had Jimbo as well. I thought he'd show up on your all name team.
Yeah. Yeah.
But my other one that I chose was James Big Cat Williams,
Okay.
right? Just 12 seasons of reliable. I mean, that's what we're talking about right now.
Yeah.
He
Yeah.
was reliable.
Yeah.
He wasn't outstanding. Remember Chicago? I love Garrett's popcorn, but
Yeah.
but we're reduced to a reliable tackle for your all team list.
Hey, he was a player, man. He was the reason I went with Kyle Long over him was at least Kyle Long made the Pro Bowl a couple of times.
Yes, I agree with you. We can go with
But
Long.
Big Cat Williams was a player, man. He was one of those guys. They don't have enough of Big Cat Williams, right? In their if they had a few more of them, they would have more winning seasons.
Yeah,
So you
yeah.
know what? I'm going to think about that one a bit, man. Before I just go with Kyle, I'm going to give that one some thought
You
because
gonna give us a thought?
I hadn't considered Big Cat, man. I'm gonna have to give that one. I'm gonna have to think about that while we continue here.
All right, all
I'll come back. Let's move on to guard. Um, Guard was even worse than tackle, right? At least I had some options and some guys I could say, yeah, this guy, he was a player. Guards, man. I remember Mark Bortz, Reuben Brown, barely, right? I mean, I remember them being talked, you just like you were talking about Big Cat Williams. They were serviceable. They were serviceable for a long time. But
Mm-hmm.
they were just they were guys. They were what my man Pat Kerwin called JAG, JAG. He's just a guy.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But he was a Jag for a long time. So I give guys credit for that, man, for being able to hang around. I give you credit for that. But the one guard I went with was Cody Whitehair. Because Cody Whitehair was he was a pretty good guard who made the Pro Bowl a couple of times. The other guard was so difficult, bro, that I actually went with Joe Tooney.
You were Joe Tooney. Wow.
Joe
Wow.
Tooney is the only guard in their history who has been selected all pro.
Well, yeah. So I went with Stan Jones.
Okay.
I think he had a couple of Pro Bowl nods. I'm not sure if he
Oh,
actually made
give me
it
a,
to the Pro Bowl.
yeah, I said that wrong. He's the only guy who's all pro in the Super Bowl era. Right?
There you go. There you
I, I got tired of looking at them guys from the 40s, man.
go. Right.
I'm
Well,
like, no.
Stan Jones played from 54 to 65, right? So to your point, it was outside the Super Bowl era, but he is a Hall of Famer, right?
Yes.
Pioneered weightlifting in the NFL.
Okay.
So he's got a little bit of juice there.
Yes.
And
Yes.
then the other guard I went with was Tom Thayer.
Okay. Okay.
Again, reliable,
Yes, he was.
but he was on that 1985
He was
Chicago
on that
Bears
team with Jimbo
championship
Colbert.
team.
Yeah. Yeah.
So those are my two. I look, I'm not gonna fight you.
I actually like yours better than mine, man.
Okay.
I like yours.
All right. Uh,
Give me a second here.
yep.
All right, give them to me again.
Stan Jones and then Tom Thayer, Thayer.
Yeah, and I know why I missed Thayer. I missed Thayer because I can't believe Tom Thayer actually never made the Pro Bowl.
No, never.
I was trying to, I went back and looked at that O line from the '85 team,
Hmm.
and I completely missed Tom Thayer. I probably still would have gone with Cody Whitehead. But yeah, Tom Thayer, I like that. I like him better than Cody Whitehead as I think about it. Even though Whitehair did make the Pro Bowl 1 year. All
Yeah.
right. And then moving on, center. Who do you have at center?
So at center, I just went with Clyde Bulldog Turner from 1940 to 1952. All Pro, Hall of Famer, seven-time first team All Pro. You know,
It's
and
it's hard
he plays center and linebacker.
it's hard to go against a guy who played that long, right?
Right.
Um, and
But
no, I was gonna say he is one of those dudes who played in the 40s, though, right? But I could definitely go with buckets. There was another guy who would definitely be on my all name team. They had a guy named Uki Miller who played center for them. Uh, Olin Kreutz played in front of Jay Cutler for all those years. So he was on the team that went to
Right.
the Super Bowl. And then Jay Hilgenberg
Yeah.
was the other center who I had. I went with Hilgenberg um, because he was more recent, more current.
Yeah.
Uh, I hear what you're saying about my man Buckets being a Hall of Famer. But with him, I was kind of like Don Hudson
Okay.
with Green Bay. It's like, dude, you just played a little too long ago for me.
Yeah. Hey, I'm good with Hildenberg. I mean, that 1985 team should have a good
Yeah,
number of players on the all Chicago Bears team because of the lack of hymns.
yeah, yeah, Lord. Whew. Moving on to a position where they actually had some outstanding talent.
Right, right. So
Let's
you
talk
know,
about let's talk about the running back position. Who are the running backs you have? Because I actually think you had to give this one some thought.
I really didn't.
Okay, okay.
I'm going Walter Payton and Gale Sayers.
Gale Sayers. Okay, all
Yeah.
right. And
Um,
I settled on those two also.
okay.
But Matt Forte, for the reasons, I got Matt Forte on there as a receiver. Matt Forte was one of the best running backs in the league when he was in the league. Definitely a Chuck Foreman type dual threat.
Hmm.
Where he would hit you out of the backfield or he'd hit you with the pass and the run out of the backfield and ran routes like a receiver, right? Had hands like a receiver. Le'Veon Bell, that type
Yeah.
of back Matt Forte was. A lot of people forget about Neil Anderson, who
Yep.
played in the late 80s for them, man, who at the time it was Barry Sanders, Neil Anderson, and Emmitt Smith. And
Right.
who was the best amongst those three? And then Neil got hurt, fell off the list real quick.
Hmm.
But he was in that discussion for a couple of years.
Yeah.
Matt Suey, because he was the fullback in front of Walter all those years. And Thomas Jones had a minute with the Bears. But yeah, when you get right down to it, man, it is Walter Payton and Gale Sayers.
Right. Right.
Two of the best all time who impacted the game in both the run and the pass.
Yeah.
And
And
in the
both and
kicking
both just
game,
have and both just have legacies larger than the game.
yes,
So when you talk about the NFL as a whole, and if you're developing an all NFL team as far as impact
yes,
to the league
yes.
itself, not numbers, not stats, just impact, like bringing the awareness of the game.
Guys who brought eyeballs to the TV
Right.
set. Yes,
Yep. Yep.
yes.
So
Those two guys were
definitely.
definitely those type of players.
Yeah.
They
Kind of
were
like
must see TV when they played.
they were must see TV, kind of like what Magic Johnson and Larry Bird did in the 80s
Yes,
for the NBA.
absolutely, absolutely.
Anytime
That's
those
a
two
great comparison.
played, it was must see TV, and it
Yes,
expanded the league
yes,
and
they
opened it
did.
up
Yes,
for where Jordan could come in and take it to the worldwide level, right? So
right, absolutely,
when we're
absolutely.
talking, if we ever do like a all NFL, that's going to be my criteria. It's
Yeah,
not going to be
absolutely,
stats. It's going to be
absolutely.
the legacy that they leave behind.
What was your impact on the game? Not just your stats, right? What was your
Correct.
impact?
Yep. Yep.
All right, and then we round the offense out with the most important position on offense. And who do you have as I see you nod your head. Who do you have as the quarterback on your all-time team?
Look, so here's some names. And when I read these names off, you got to know that the Bears did not do a great job of picking quarterbacks.
Let's
Jay
hear these
Cut
names. Let's hear these names.
Jay Cutler.
Okay, he's the all-time leading passer in franchise history.
That's not saying a lot.
And how do you
Um,
have? How do you the? How is to tell you how bad it is? The all-time leading passer is a guy his teammates didn't like.
exactly. Exactly. Jim McMahon. who only played for the Bears for 6 years, but he did win a championship
Yeah,
on that 85 team,
yeah.
right? Eric Kramer.
Uh, and that's the name, whenever I'm talking about Lions quarterback who beat the Cowboys in the playoffs and I can't think of his name, and I always say Eric. I can never remember his last name because the Lion Eric I remember is Hipple. I can remember Eric Hipple. I always forget Eric Kramer.
Right,
Ugh,
right.
uh,
So when we talked last week, when I changed my mind on
oh, you didn't have any more
Packers.
names? What happened
Well,
to
wait, wait, wait,
Kyle?
wait, 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 wait. So last week when I changed my mind on the Packers because the bar was too low for Jordan Love to be considered a top QB in the history of the Packers, and I went with Bert Starr, right? Caleb Williams, your second year quarterback, Caleb Williams, is in the conversation
Already
already.
a guy
Don't
who's
let him
played 2
win.
years.
Don't let him win an MVP. Don't let him win an NFL championship.
Uh,
Don't just, he's going to be the number one because I'm going with Sid Luckman.
oh,
Uh, I mean, he is considered the best quarterback in Chicago Bear history. 4 championships in the 1940s. He's a he's a Hall of Fame quarterback, but I just can't put Jay Cutler up there. I just can't. That is yeah.
you
What are
know,
your thoughts?
I felt like you missed a couple of names with Mike Tomzak, with Vince Evans, with Bobby Douglas, with Kyle Orton.
I mean, yeah, yeah. I that list is ridiculous. None of those quarterbacks that you named should have been starting in the NFL.
Oh, Jim McMahon is on that list.
And it's questionable that he should have been starting in the NFL. When he left Chicago, he went to
Was it San Diego or Indianapolis?
one of those teams. I thought it was a team out of the South, but maybe he ended up there too.
You
But
talking about McMahon?
yeah,
If I'm not mistaken, McMahon won playoff games. I know he won playoff games with Indy. I remember him playing in the AFC Championship game with Indy, and I think
okay,
whoever the other team was he went to, it may not have been San Diego. I feel like it was, but I feel like he won a playoff game there also. So
yeah,
he came along at the end of the '85 Bears as that team was getting older. So he had a veteran team he was playing with that was starting to age out.
right, exactly, exactly.
So you
It's a
said
veteran
Sid
team.
Luckman, man. It's so funny, man. You and I we were chopping it up earlier this week when you said the first week. Um, how did you say it? The first week there weren't a whole lot of guys from the legendary team on it, and then last week it was like I made sure there's a whole bunch of guys
Right,
uh,
right.
pre Super Bowl era. I think you're right because I'm down again this week. I didn't have anybody pre Super Bowl era on my team. I started to put Luckman on, but because I had kept all the offensive linemen who had played with him off the team, I didn't put Luckman on. The winningest quarterback since Sid Luckman is actually Jay Cutler,
Yeah, yeah,
but
yeah,
his record is 500,
yeah.
which is why I went with Jim McMahon because at least Jim McMahon had a winning record outside of the '85 Bears. McMahon's issue was he couldn't stay healthy. I think he only played 16 games twice. He just always had a hard time staying healthy, but the guy was a winner. He won when he played. Now you can, in a lot of ways, say maybe he was nothing, or not nothing, but not much more than a serviceable quarterback.
Right.
But the team won when he played. But Sid Luckman is a Hall of Famer, man. I'd have no issue going with and McMahon doesn't, other than the Super Bowl, McMahon doesn't have any other pelts on the wall. No MVPs, no All Pros, no Pro Bowl appearances. So yeah, for that I will go with Sid Luckman.
Yeah, so just covering McMahon, you had mentioned not playing a lot of games.
Hmm.
It looks like he only had maybe 4 seasons where he played more than 12 games a season,
Yeah,
right?
like I said, I think I
So
was,
and then and when he left Chicago is a little bit of a journeyman, right?
he was he
He
was
went to the Chargers. He played a few years with the Eagles, and those were the years I was thinking about. 1 year with the Vikings, one with the Cardinals, and then two with the Green Bay Packers.
yeah he was a journeyman at the end, and I think um,
So it's hard to put a journeyman quarterback on your all-time list, Chicago Bears, but he's close to being on your all-time list.
he's in the discussion. A
Right.
journeyman quarterback is in the discussion for being the best quarterback your franchise has ever had. The only guy who can even be in the discussion above him would be a guy who played right after World War II, right?
Right. Exactly. Exactly.
The other guys would be in the discussion. The only guy above him, you know, played before Vince Lombardi became a head coach, right?
Right, right. Hey, Chicago Bears fans, the upside to this is that your defense might be the reason why you were relevant for
Your
so long.
your defense. This
The
is why you
all-time
guys were
defense
called the
list,
monsters of the Midway, right?
right,
Wasn't because you were mauling people in the run game. It's because your defense over the years has cracked heads. All right, so let's get into the defense, man. Let's talk about your all-time. Let's talk about the all-time team for the all-time defense for the Chicago Bears, starting with defensive end.
so defensive ends. There are some talented players on defensive end for Chicago Bears.
Yes,
The list is long,
the
and
list is
any of these
extremely long.
players could play on
Yes,
any team in the NFL and been really successful.
yes.
So I'm just gonna leave it to three names, and if you want to fill in what you got, and
I bet we have the same
we
three.
can discuss it. But I got Richard Dent, Julius Peppers, and Khalil Mack.
Ooh, 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 ooh,
Look,
ooh,
I'm
ooh.
always good for the chaos.
Yeah, no, we're not close on our three. Julius Peppers was a beast, man, and one of the greatest athletes to ever play in the NFL. Um, uh, Khalil Mack is still the only player to ever be voted All Pro at two positions in the same season. With the Chicago Bears, he was voted All Pro as defensive end and as an outside linebacker. A
Mhm,
beast.
mhm.
Richard Dent. John Madden used to say, when Richard Dent decided it, he could not be blocked. When he made up his mind, you could not block him. Um, that three, um, definitely, man. Mac and Peppers, two of the great players in NFL history, too, man. I definitely had Dent on my list. An old school guy who I thought you were going to have. I was surprised you didn't have this guy after you had Sid Luckman And the guards that you had, I'm really surprised you didn't mention Doug Atkins at all. Doug Atkins is a Hall of Famer who played for the Bears in the 60s. And is probably the guy who made All Pro 7 times for the Bears. I'm
Yeah,
sorry,
and
made the Pro Bowl 7 times and then All Pro once.
I was gonna say I think he also changed forced the league to change rules where you can't jump over people on the line.
He was a great athlete. He was like 6'4", 250. Great athlete, Doug Atkins. But yeah, let me ask you this before I say this name. Do you have Dan Hampton on your list at all?
He's on the list.
So you listed Hampton as a tackle.
No, no, I listed him as a DN.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
But you didn't mention Dan Hampton unless I missed it.
I just wanted to give my top three.
Those were your got you. Those were your
Yeah.
top three.
Yeah.
Got you, got you, got you, got you, got you. And see, I would have Hampton ahead of both Peppers and Mack, mostly because he played for the franchise longer.
Mhm.
Those two guys were probably better pass rushers. No doubt. They were both better pass rushers than Hampton was, even though Hampton was a good pass rusher. But playing the run, playing that 5 technique in that Buddy Ryan 46 defense and that bear defense, they call it today, him playing that 5 technique, man, just crushed everything on the right side and made it capable for them. In fact, the reason I asked about whether you have him as a tackle, because basically he's playing tackle in that formation. And they've got Hampton, McMichael and Fridge in there. They're basically playing with 3 tackles in that formation and just crushing people, man. So yeah, I would go with Dan Hampton over Mack and Peppers. If it came down to Mack and Peppers, I'd probably go with. It's hard for me because both of them were great players for other teams. Also, when I think of them
True.
just as Bears, I think Mack may have been the better Chicago Bear.
Okay.
Because he was a Bear early in his career when he was younger versus Pepper coming over later in his career after he had already been a great player for the Carolina Panthers. But I would still lean toward Dan Hampton.
Yeah, I agree with you. I'm good with Richard Dent and Dan Hampton. You you put Dan Hampton up there, you got somebody from that Super Bowl winning team, so I'm good with it.
Yeah. And then the one of the reasons I gave it a lot of thought is that puts both of the starting DNs from that 85 team on the defense.
Mm-hmm.
And then inside at tackle, who do you have?
Again, it's a longer list, but I'm just gonna give you my two, Steve McNichol and Jim Osborne.
Yeah, I'm going with Steve McMichael also. Um, Recently selected into the Hall of Fame.
Hmm.
Um, Osborne was a good player for them. Tommy Harris um,
Yep.
was another D tackle who I considered. But for me, when you talk about impact players, the first guy when Buddy Ryan became the D coordinator for the Bears, I think Papa Bear was still coaching. And he took Wally Chambers. Wally Chambers played basically the same position Dan Hampton played, but Wally Chambers is the other guy who I was thinking. But
Okay.
him as the 5 technique on the inside in that Buddy Ryan 46 defense, he lived in the backfield.
Yeah.
He could have played on that 85 team. He could have started on that 85 team. He
Hmm.
was colorful like those guys. He's the first guy in the NFL to wear an earring
Mm.
to the point where it was on the cover of Sports Illustrated magazine. Is this guy with an earring is in there wrecking teams playing on the inside. So for that reason, I would put Wally Chambers
Okay.
as the other D tackle.
Yeah, sounds good.
And he's the only guy in this organization in the 70s who could play before they drafted Payton. It was Walter Payton on defense and Wally Chambers on defense and Walter Payton on offense. Now moving on to linebacker. Who do you
Yeah,
have as your linebacker?
linebackers. Somehow you guys could not hit on receivers, but you could hit on linebackers.
Got to give the Bears their props on linebacker. They know how to find linebackers, right?
They
You know nothing about receivers.
nothing about
You
receivers.
know less about quarterbacks.
Exactly.
But
Exactly.
you know defensive players, and in particular, you know linebackers.
That's right. That's right. So I'm just going to throw out four, but I probably have a list of about 10 to 12, right?
Yeah.
Dick Butkus, Mike Singletary, Brian Urlacher, Bill George.
Um, Bill George is an underrated name in NFL history, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, and until I started looking at this, I had forgotten about him too. Um, he played more like he was a versatile athlete also. He played guard on offense and he played nose tackle. He was one of those guys, first generation middle linebackers, where he actually was a nose tackle. And when Tom Landry over with the Giants decided to stand up the middle guard and move him off the line of scrimmage and start calling him the middle linebacker, the
Yep.
Bears did the same thing with Bill George.
Yep.
And those guys start wrecking. That they made the middle linebacker the glamour position on
Yeah.
defense. So yeah, Bill George's name is definitely in that discussion,
In
and
discussion.
it's hard to keep him off the list, man. It is hard. The
Yeah, it's
only
not.
reason I had that same four, the only reason I kept George off the list was because of the period he played in. Earl Lacker played more recently, and I actually um, think and I actually think Urlacher may have been a better player than Dick Butkus.
Probably.
His
Probably. Because
ability to cover the pass in
yeah.
that Tampa 2 defense, his ability to get deep in that middle zone, man, how many interceptions did you see this guy have where quarterbacks thought they could get the ball over his head and he'd reach that long arm up and pull that thing in?
Yeah, I agree with you. I had to think about it for a second, but when you think about the different eras in which
Yep,
they played, Dick Butkus wasn't responsible for the pass,
exactly,
right?
exactly.
He
He
were
didn't have to chase tight ends and backs and
right,
didn't have the receivers as fast, and he didn't have to play that middle, that deep middle that Urlacher was. That's what made that Bears defense that's why they looked so much like the Tampa Bay Buccaneers defense that Tony Dungy and what was the coach? Can't remember the Bears coach at the time.
Lonnie Smith.
Lonnie Smith. Lonnie Smith was the D coordinator for that Tampa Bay team with Tony Dungy, and took that same defense over to the Bears. And it was Brian Urlacher and Lance Briggs, another name
Hmm.
on the all-time linebackers for the Bears that made that defense work. But I would agree, those three names are the three best linebackers in Bears history.
Right, right. And again, they're all, how can I say this? They because because of who they were and how they played the game, they could have been anywhere in the league and still would have got recognized,
Yes, yes,
right?
yes.
So again, when we talk about legacy
Neither
and
of those guys are system guys, right?
right,
Yeah.
exactly, exactly. That's what I'm getting at. It's like
Yes.
they're NFL guys
Yes.
that played for the Chicago Bears.
Yes.
You know
Yes.
those names. You
Yes.
know those names. Yeah.
I agree. I agree. All right, moving on. Let's talk about cornerbacks for this team.
Yeah, so I'm gonna go with probably with the recent development of cornerbacks and how they're playing the game, especially in Chicago. Got to go with Charles Peanut Tillman and the Peanut Punch,
Oh yeah.
right? Um, the this year Chicago Bears cornerbacks, safeties employ that technique,
Yes.
right? For a team,
They
for
name you see D backs doing it all over the league. They
right,
named it after this guy.
they named it
That
after him, right?
that's what kind of player that guy was.
For a Chicago Bears team that started out and we kept saying they cannot continue to give up as many points and yards and still and still win games
Yeah,
because they were living off of the turnover.
yeah,
This is the legacy right here,
yes
right?
it is. Yes it is.
So he's on the list. And then I went with Donald Wolford.
Darnell, yeah,
Yeah, Donnell Wolford, 32 interceptions in 8 seasons as a Chicago Bear. I mean, there might be better ones out there like Richie Pettibone and Donnie McRae. You might want to, if you were thinking about that same thing, but I think those two for me really kind of locked it in for me.
yeah. I agree. I consider Richie Pettibone only because he's still a defensive coordinator in the league and still doing getting the job done there. I don't know if he's currently employed as a D coordinator. He may be the what do they call this senior defensive assistant
Mhm.
for somebody right now. But yeah, he's a longtime D coordinator in this league. Um, who was the other guy? Kyle Fuller was another guy who I considered a couple times. He made the Pro Bowl. Definitely an impact player on those teams in the 20 teens. But yeah, I went with the same two also.
Nice.
Wolford was another one of those guys during the 80s who was like the only guy on the team. When he played, he's one of the only guys on the team, man. But yeah, those are the two I went with as well. I said 80s, I meant 90s. He came in the 90s. And then safety. Who do you have at safety?
Number one, I went with Mike Brown.
You went with Brown. Okay.
Yeah, I just felt like he was a dominant safety. Um, Again, clutch turnovers holds the franchise record for seven defensive touchdowns. So just a ball player, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And then I I was going with Richie Pettibone as a safety,
Okay.
but you might want to go another direction.
Yeah. Mike Brown. I'm gonna well, that would be wrong. I was gonna say I'm gonna call Mike Brown recency bias. Uh,
That was
but not
25
necessarily.
years
I
ago.
mean, he is, this century, but he played in the early 2000s, right?
Right,
So
right.
that's not necessarily recency bias. Mike Brown was a player. Um, I thought Mark Carrier, who played in the 90s, was a player for them.
Hmm.
Dave Durison, who played on those teams in the 80s with the 85 Bear team.
Yep.
Dave Dorison was a player also. He's a guy who had CTE and his life ended tragically. Um, but he was on that list. But I went with Gary Fensick.
Okay.
Gary Fensick, um, Gary Fensick wore number 45. Doug Plank wore number 46 for the Bears. They were the starting safeties. Um, uh, Buddy Ryan didn't know Doug Plank's name, so he called him 46. And that's how when they went to that formation, which basically was bring in another D lineman and take the safety down in the box, the 46, number 46, you go in the box. When he called 46, is how that name got how the defense got that name. But yeah, I'm gonna go with Gary Fenson.
Yeah, and he had I think he career interceptions. I think he's a franchise leader in
I
career
think
interceptions.
he is the franchise
28.
leader in career
Yep.
interceptions.
Two-time All-Pro. He was a staple on the 1985 championship team as well. So again,
Yep.
another one of those Super Bowl teammates out there. So yeah, it's a good choice.
Gary Fensick and Doug Plank were players, man. But Gary Fensick was probably the better of the two. And then who do you have as the kick returner?
Went with Devin Hester.
And that, we talked about running back. But you know what? To tell you how we you talked earlier about impact to the league and the kind of impact Gale Sayers and Walter Payton have. Gale Sayers and Walter Payton could have they made this list as running back. Both of them could have made this list as receiver. Both of them could have made this list as kick return.
This is all true.
And
This is all true.
if it wasn't for Devin Hester, it would be more of a discussion. Just like we had to have the discussion about receivers because there was no talent there. If there were talent there, there wouldn't have been a discussion.
Right, right.
And that's why there is no discussion about kick returner because Devin Hester is one of the best to ever do it.
That's right.
So there you have it, folks. There is the Chicago Bears all-time team. You know what? I never did agree on that second tackle, did I? Who
Nope.
were who were our I did that again. That killed me the first time. Who were our choices? You had somebody I didn't have.
On the tackles, let's see.
You know,
So you were going with Kyle Long.
I had Kyle Long, but you had somebody else. I'm trying to think of who you had.
I had Big Cat Williams.
Was it Big Cat?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was Big Cat. It was Big Cat. Give me a
Yep.
second. Yeah, I think I'm still going to lean toward Long because
Okay.
I think Long, I think he made the Pro Bowl a couple of times more than Big Cat did. So yeah, I'm going to lean toward Kyle Long. And there we have our all-time Chicago Bears team. Receivers, Johnny Morris, Willie Goff. Tight end, Mike Ditka. Tackles, Jimbo Covert and Kyle Long. Guards, Stan Jones and Tom Thayer. Center, Jay Hilgenberg. Running backs, Walter Payton and Gale Sayers. And quarterback, the great Sid Luckman. The defensive ends are Richard Dent and Dan Hampton. The tackles, Steve McMichael and Wally Chambers. The linebacker, the greatest group of linebackers for any team in the NFL. Big buckets, Mike Singletary, Brian Urlacher. Challenge anybody on that statement. Cornerbacks, Peanut Tillman and Donnell Woodford. Safeties, Mike Brown and Gary Fensick. And the kick returner, the great Devin Hester. I had a coworker who was from Chicago, was so upset Devin Hester wasn't a first ballot Hall of Famer. Um, and I think people get hung up on that. But yeah, if there's something special about being first ballot, then it's probably right that a kick returner isn't a first ballot, even though he is the greatest kick returner, arguably the greatest kick returner ever. Um, Opened the Super Bowl with a kick return for a touchdown. Devin Hester uh, was dangerous every time he had the ball in his hand, and is a Hall of Famer.
Right, right. And we didn't cover coaches, but surely enough, George Halas is going to be the Bears' all-time coach. This is a question.
Yeah, Mike Ditka and Lovie Smith both get some love because
They
they were
do.
able to get their
They
team
do.
for the Super Bowl. And I'm glad you mentioned that because I didn't cover that earlier when we were talking about coaches. I still believe had Papa Bear been the coach of the 85 Bears, I think that team would have had a longer legacy, a longer run, and would have won more Super Bowls. Now, Papa Bear had gone to glory. He didn't even get to live to see the 85 Bears. But he was astute enough to know that when he hired Mike Ditka,
Yes.
he told Ditka he had to keep the defense. He had to take Buddy Ryan as his defensive coordinator. And Ditka agreed, and the rest, as they say, is history. But
Right.
yeah, I give it to Papa Bear, man, because that alone was so impactful, man. Like I said, I think had he been around to manage, even if he wasn't coaching, had he had been around to continue to be the GM for the team, they had great talent, great players. Them not being able to find another quarterback or to keep Jim McMahon healthy or to find another quarterback to place Jim McMahon, I
Hmm.
think Papa Bear would have found a way to get that team over the hump
Yeah.
one more time.
And those three coaches are definitely legendary coaches in their own right
Yeah,
individually.
yeah,
So again, Chicago Bears, you really have some tough positions where it was hard to figure out who to put on the list. But you guys were hitting it with the coaches too. So
The Bears, yes, the Bears
to
have
your credit,
definitely had some good coaches. They've had better coaches than the Detroit Lions have had. Maybe not. They've been up there with Minnesota and Green Bay as far as high coaching hires. They've had some quality coaches on their team.
right. I mean, top those are top three. Like if we're for
Yeah,
me, if we're
yeah,
kind of ranking some of the coaches, um, as far as like the NFC North, right? Green Bay, you might have a couple that you're going to throw in there,
right,
but
right.
Minnesota, Detroit, you're not even in the discussion, right?
I'd have to put Bud Grant in there though.
Yeah, yeah,
Bud Grant,
yeah.
I'd have to put in there. Yeah,
Yeah,
that
that's
would
true.
be.
That's true.
Yeah, but yeah, the Lions don't have a legendary coach.
No, no, not at all. Not at all.
Wayne Fontes.
Wayne Fontes. Yeah, yeah. Hey, so we haven't really brought it up, but there's been a lot going on in the business season. I think Will and I were working on maybe bringing something to you next week as far as talking about the free agency and draft picks and those type of things. But this week's been kind of crazy. This morning has been wild. If you've
Yeah.
been following, you've been following what's been going on. The Ravens decided to send someone back to Vegas, and then 20 minutes later, they sign up Trey Hendrickson. So there's some exciting stuff going on. It's fun to watch. We want to kind of wait until everything falls into place or falls into place a little bit. Everything's a little bit more solid because you can't have any signings until when's the signings next
Uh,
week or
Today,
today?
actually, today at 4 p.m.
Okay,
Yeah, today is Wednesday the 11th, as we are sitting here recording our show. Um, the new league year starts today at 4 p.m. So there'll be a bevy of activity going on. You know, you've already heard because the legal negotiation period started Monday the
right.
9th. So teams have already started some negotiation. There have been trades that have been made. None of it can be consummated, if you will, until the new league year starts at 4 p.m. today. That's why if you go to your team's website, you won't see any of this discussion. You'll see it all in newspapers and ESPN.com, NFL.com, those kind of places. But the teams won't put anything out until somebody has put pen to paper. So you'll see all of that happening starting at 4 o'clock today and tomorrow when teams actually have guys come in and start signing them. But like Tellis said, yeah, next week we're going to get into all of that. As it starts to settle down after week one, we'll get into a bunch of the trades that were made, a bunch of the changes that are going on with each team. Like Tellis said, how about the Ravens? Uh, Max Crosby, you failed your physical. You should have been able to take 3 steps in a second. It took you 5 seconds to get those 2 steps. You have failed your physical, and we're going to go ahead and sign Trey Hendrickson because we got him for less money than we'd have to pay you, and we get the
Get
draft
the
choices
keeper.
back.
Right, exactly, exactly. And this all has implications for the NFC North, which is what we focus on. So
Yeah,
we'll probably cover significant events that happen in the league itself, but we will drill down to what it means for the four teams in the NFC North and what they were able to do or get done and project into the draft.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So tell us, my man, go ahead and wrap us up for this episode, brother.
Hey, we appreciate you guys hanging out with us, especially through the Chicago Bears episode. But Will and I love talking football. But when we're not, we are out helping people invest in real estate. If you have questions about your next move, don't fumble the ball. Contact us for a winning game plan in real estate. Fellas, share the pie with your buddies. Ladies, share it with your crew. Make sure you hit that subscribe button and don't be a knucklehead. Drop us that 5-star rating.
Hey, as Stella said, we appreciate everyone who watching. We appreciate all your comments. And folks, we will see you next time.
Yes, sir.